Ladies and gentlemen, gather round for another gripping episode of Am I the Jerk? Today, we delve into two captivating stories that will leave you pondering. Our first tale introduces a married couple who, having been evicted from their home, are now seeking refuge with a relative. It was during one of their heated exchanges that the husband, in a fit of frustration, resorted to labeling his wife as effing difficult. With the eviction already a reality, we must now examine whether the husband's choice of words makes him the jerk in this scenario. Long story short, my wife and I were evicted 2 months ago after the landlord sold the property. Given that my wife is a minimalist, we were able to rent out the smallest storage locker and fit everything inside, with the exception of one item, her recliner. We stored it over to my mom's house. We are currently living with my sister while putting in home applications and house searching. It's been a bit stressful because my wife is not a dog person at all, and there are 4 pretty untrained dogs here, Aussie Shepherds, who shed like there's no tomorrow. My sister and her husband aren't exactly on top of cleanliness either, so there's piles of dog hair in the corners of the home that you could probably make a full rug out of. Well, my mom said I need to move the recliner somewhere because she needs to store some of her own items and doesn't have room. I told her I'd come grab it tomorrow. I came home and told my wife about it, and my sister suggested I bring the recliner there and just stick it in the living room. My wife said no, she was going to find storage for it. My sister didn't push the issue, but we don't have anywhere else to store it either. I told my wife later, when we were alone, that we didn't have anywhere else to store it, and she said she would have to figure it out because her recliner is definitely not coming here. When I asked why, she said, "I'm not having my one piece of furniture destroyed by a bunch of disgusting dogs. I want the recliner, and if I bring it here, it's staying here. I'm not willing to do that." I told her at this point she's being difficult because I need to move that chair and don't really have time for her to figure it out. She raised her voice at this point and said, "Do whatever the F you want then." I already have nothing but sure, ruined my one effing thing that I actually kept. She's still pissing me right now. Am I the jerk? It's hard to definitively call the husband a jerk in this situation. He's frustrated with his wife's refusal to bring her recliner to their current living situation. But her attachment to the recliner and fear of it getting ruined by the dogs play a role in her strong reaction. They're both dealing with the stress of eviction and their living conditions, which can lead to conflicts. The key is for them to communicate empathetically and find a compromise that addresses their concerns. Understanding their overall dynamics is crucial before passing judgment. Ladies and gentlemen, I kindly ask you to take a moment to show your support for this channel. It takes just a few seconds of your time to make a significant impact. By subscribing to this channel, you not only stay updated with captivating content, but you also help the creator, yours truly, to continue delivering valuable discussions and entertaining episodes. So, please spare a moment to hit that subscribe button and be a part of this amazing community. Your support means the world to us. Thank you. In our second captivating story, we encounter a man who confesses, "I moved my girlfriend's things and her kids' things out of my house while she was at work, knowing that she doesn't have anywhere else to go. I feel like I could be the asshole because I feel bad that the kids are staying in a shelter because their mom has made bad choices." Now, we must delve into the depths of this complex predicament and determine whether the man's actions indeed classify him as the jerk in this troubling tale. Am I the jerk for kicking my girlfriend and her kids out and putting them in a bad spot? She's my ex-girlfriend now technically. I am 30 years old and dated Julia, who is 25 years old for a year. She's fun and very beautiful, and I was convinced we were going to make it all work. Last month her lease ran out, and because she has a prior eviction on record and rent prices have soared recently, she wasn't able to secure another home in time. I own my own home, and since I didn't want my girlfriend and her kids to be homeless, I reluctantly agreed she could move in with me. I was somewhat on the fence about kids before, but had gotten along with her kids just fine all the times we'd hung out. Once they moved in, it was hell. They took over all my personal spaces, colored on my walls, and made huge messes. I realized Julia does not clean up after her children well. She only did it when I'd come to visit her before. I felt like she deceived me into thinking she's a good mom. All she did once moving in was sit on the couch while her children ran wild. She also said she has no money once she moved in, and she expected me to pay for everything for her and her 3 kids. After 3 weeks, I snapped and packed up her stuff and the kids while she was at work and put it in my shed. I told her we were done, and she and her kids can't stay here anymore. Where I live, you only have rights if you've lived somewhere a month. So since it was only 3 weeks, I was legally in the clear. I thought about giving her more time to find somewhere else to stay, but that would just allow her to gain tenancy, which means I would have to legally evict her, which takes forever here. She showed up screaming and banging on the door, saying I was making her and her kids homeless. I feel bad, but if I'd never let them move in, she would have been homeless anyways. I feel like Julia pretended to be someone she wasn't in order for me to support her. She says she's been depressed, but I don't think that's a good excuse to let her kids rub goldfish in my carpet. Am I the jerk for kicking out my girlfriend and her kids before they could gain tenancy? Based on the given information, it's challenging to pass a final judgment on whether the boyfriend is a jerk or not. The situation seems to be complex and filled with frustration on both sides. On one hand, the boyfriend allowed his ex-girlfriend and her kids to move into his home out of concern for their well-being. However, he discovered that living with the children turned out to be overwhelming, with their behavior causing damage and messes. He also felt deceived by the ex-girlfriend's lack of cleanliness and financial expectations. While his decision to remove them from his home abruptly may seem harsh, it's important to consider the circumstances and the legal limitations involved. Ultimately, more understanding and open communication could have led to a better resolution.